the next thing I'm going to talk about is muzzles. All right? Muzzles are wonderful, wonderful tools. Everybody who's in this group knows my stance on muzzles. I stand by muzzles. I love muzzles. I'm kind of obsessed with muzzles. There are so many different kinds of muzzles. So the place I usually, thanks Jay, the place I usually start most people off when we're talking about muzzle training is going to be a simple Baskerville muzzle. All right? This is an older style, and you can tell because it has this buckle here, right? The new upgraded versions, it's just an actual clip, all right? And this head strap is actually attached already, so you don't have to fumble around. But this is the older style again, like I said, and you just slip it through there, feed it through the buckle, and your dog's face goes on. Now, it's important that we do short side up, long side down. Sometimes people will get it flipped over. So you want all the material to be underneath, all right? There's a lot that goes into making a muzzle work and letting your dog love muzzles. I know lots of clients whose dogs love muzzles. My dogs love muzzles. The reason I like to start with Baskervilles is, number one, they're super easy to get dogs trained into. You can smear spray cheese on this thing. They're super easy to clean. They're super durable. I've seen one case ever where any punctures went through, and that was a very large dog biting a dog who was muzzled, okay? These are not considered 100% bite proof, meaning a very determined dog can get their little teeth out like this and bite through it, okay? Or they can smush skin up in it, right? If they punch into your leg and they kind of smush your leg in, they can get a hold of you. I've only seen one picture of this happening, and of course it was a Belgian Malinois who was bite trained, obviously. It was going after a bite sleeve. So that's the only time I've seen these fail. But I love starting with these. And they're super malleable, so especially my pitties. Of course it's a Malinois, right, Sammy? So they're super malleable. You can take this, put it in some boiling water for about a minute, get some oven mitts or something, and stretch it so that it fits around their face, smush the front end in. I mean, you can really shape this to however you need, and when it hardens and cools, it'll stay just like how you set it. So I have been able to get Baskervilles to fit all kinds of crazy face shapes. That's why I love them. Now the size, the nose should end up somewhere between these 2 points. If the nose is back here, it's too big. If the nose is pressed against the front, it's too small. If you're having a hard time sizing your muzzle, always let me know. If you can't figure out which muzzle your dog needs, also let me know and I'll help you out, okay? What you gotta say, Miss Susan? Loves her muzzle. Raven loves her muzzle so much that she literally, I took it off of her at her last session and she climbed into my lap to put it back on. Not because she wanted attention, but because she wanted her muzzle back on, because she's obsessed with it. Some dogs really love these. Some dogs who resource guard, they end up guarding their muzzles because it becomes such a high value item to them. Yeah, Sammy, of course it was a Malinois. Malinois, if you guys don't know what Malinois are, I like to call Malinois German Shepherds on crack. They are rowdy. Most police dogs that you see are going to be Malinois. If you are considering a Malinois, consider if you want bites. They are bred to bite. They need to bite on things. They need a job 24/7. They are a hardcore dog to own and should not be gotten just because they're pretty. Let me get off my soapbox on Malinois, but I have very strong opinions about them. Baskerville muzzles are a wonderful, wonderful management tool. The other reason I like Baskervilles specifically is because they can take food. Really easy to just jam some spray cheese up here, get some treats up in. They can play with toys. Plenty of dogs get out there and bat little balls around and chase things and play with other dogs. They can fully pant. That's the key. Whichever muzzle you pick, it all depends on what the dog's activity level is going to be while wearing the muzzle. So a Baskerville is great for dogs who are mild to moderate excitement levels. This is not a muzzle to put on your dog and go run a marathon with. You will overheat your dog and they will not be able to relax. This gets mostly a full pant. Not all the way, but it gets most of a pant in there. What do you got to say, Miss Michelle? Yes, I agree. They are wonderful if owned by a responsible owner. That's accurate. Yes, ma'am. So that's Baskerville muzzles. Now, there's also this muzzle, which I'm sure the majority of you guys are super familiar with. You see them at vet clinics, at grooming salons. The dog puts their face in there, their little nose is sticking out, and their mouth is completely shut. This is my worst case scenario, last ditch effort muzzle option. all right? And the reason why is because their mouth is closed. When you're using a cloth muzzle like this or any other cloth muzzles, you're actually restricting their ability to regulate heat. So there's a very limited period of time. It depends on your breed, dog's age, etc., etc. But generally, this is just for a quick groom, take it right back off. Now, a lot of vets end up having to use this because people don't use Baskervilles to muzzle train their dog prior, and they end up having to slap this on. So the majority of dogs I see that are muzzle reactive are actually reactive to this style of muzzle. But when you switch to a Baskerville, there's a lot of success in just switching the type of muzzle, all right? So these last-ditch effort, I really don't like them. I use them if I absolutely have to. There's only 2 dogs that I use it on in my house, and of course it's my 2 very little ones, and it's only for nail trims. On, quick, 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 take it off, lots and lots of cheese, because they can still lick a little. So I smother the little face with some cheese. So that's cloth muzzles. If you guys have experience, have questions, let me know below, and I'll answer them. Okay, this is another style of basket muzzle. This is really good for our dogs that have those thin, long snouts, all right? Baskervilles are good for pudgy face, pretty much any face. But when you've got like the Italian Greyhound face or Greyhound or any of those sight hounds with the really long nose, you're looking at something shaped more like this, all right? This way they can still get a decent amount of pant in there. And the reason I like this one is it's got a secondary little bloop right here. Opens up, you can feed more treats. In fact, when I use these with people, I'll cut these out so that I can feed, but when it's time for you to not be able to have access to the front of your muzzle, you just close that right back down. So this is a pretty neat little muzzle here. One downside of this style of muzzle is it does not have a strap between the eyes. So when there's no strap between the eyes, the dog can get their paw behind this if they're super determined and just pop the whole muzzle right off. And then you're really looking for a bite. So these are really good if you've got a dog who has a long snout. You can take some little box cutter or razor and just cut the front part so you can fit more treats in there. Take this little trap out, and then when it's time to actually go into the vet to have times where they can't actually get access to biting people, you just slip that right back in there. Pretty cool little thing. It's called an Italian basket muzzle. I know that's backwards for you guys. But if you have any questions about where to get this one, if you think your dog needs one of these, let me know. Another style of muzzle is a wire muzzle. Wire muzzles and vinyl muzzles are 100% bite proof, okay? Meaning, if your dog got to the front of this muzzle and tried his damnedest, he would not or she would not be able to bite somebody. Here's a very large example of a wire muzzle, okay? Now, when I get these made, I get them made for full pant room. You can see how big this is, right? This is my shepherd's muzzle. You guys probably saw it in my pictures with him. He needs a big full pant in here, so there's like 7 different measurements to get. If you're having a hard time figuring out what measurements, let me know. These are fabulous tools, but the one downside I have found, well, there's a couple of downsides. Downside number 1, again, there's no in between the eyes strap here. There can always be one added on really quick and easy, but it doesn't come with one, so that's extra work. Another thing I don't like about these that I didn't consider before I bought 8 of them was they become metal battering rams, all right? If you think your dog is bad running up on you now, imagine 80 pounds of dog hitting you in the shins with a metal face. That hurts. So if you have a dog that likes to ram their nose into things, this is not the muzzle for you, especially if it's dog-on-dog aggression. Yes, Sammy, it was hilarious. It was a whole thing, all right? Mistakes were made. But these are still wonderful tools. I still use them when I know that they're not going to be interacting with other dogs, right? Because dog to dog, if I go to sniff your butt and I'm hurting you, that dog's going to turn around and eat me up. So these are not great for... You're killing me, Sammy. These are not great for dog-on-dog interactions or a dog that's going to muzzle punch people. These are great for... I use it for my shepherd when I'm on walks. Because there are people out there who, even when a dog is muzzled, they will walk right up on you and just touch your dog. So this eliminates the option for him to walk up and bite somebody when they reach out and they're being knuckleheads. This eliminates that. Yeah, there's a lot of dogs who this is not an option for them for that reason, Miss Michelle. But if you need a bite-proof muzzle, there's another option. They're called vinyl muzzles. Just regular vinyl. It's hard, it's thick. They have them where you can get the treat hole cut out in the front. They've got vent holes in the side, and it's 100% custom made to your dog. So if you guys need information on the vinyl muzzles, I can absolutely get that to you. Vinyl muzzles are thebomb.com. They're fabulous. I do recommend that you get them done and they clear so that you can see your dog's stress signals. There's also other muzzles like the Leerburg muzzle where it's like a leather wraparound style, which can be effective in some dogs. Muzzles are just one piece of the management tool, all right? It's very important that we don't just slap a muzzle on a dog and say, go be aggressive. No, we use muzzles in conjunction with training. I like to tell people that muzzles are more for the human's sake than the dog's sake. When I have a dog that's muzzled, in the back of my head, I know he can't actually hurt anybody. It gives me, the human, that moment of hesitation where I can, instead of overreacting, I can try some of my training techniques. I can try and talk to my dog without freaking out. Because sometimes the dogs are being aggressive because we're reacting. So the muzzle is a really great way for the human to re-regulate while our dog is kind of being upset. It's also a great option for dogs that redirect, right? If I'm walking a dog that when it gets super hyped, it turns around and tries to come after me, that dog needs to be muzzled because I can't control every variable in my environment. Okay? Miss Michelle. The ones that were clear plastic looking ones, how well do they work for poo eaters? They work pretty well. I've actually seen some styles that are similar to the wire muzzle, okay? But they're shaped more like this guy, all right? It's as if these two had a baby. And there's little, I shit you not, there's little poo caps. It just looks like a little cap you put on the end of the muzzle and they can't get the poop up through the muzzle. So that's absolutely an option. I posted the muzzle group in the group last week after the live. Hop in there. You should be able to search poop caps, and you should have lots of options on there. Yeah, Miss Susan, if you guys ever need to ask questions, I'm sure Miss Susan would love to answer your questions too. Just putting a muzzle on a dog gives the human and the dog a sense of security, and we can relax a little bit more. I'm a huge advocate for muzzles, but it probably does suck, but it's better than letting your dog eat it, right? Muzzles are excellent tools, but should be used with other things. So when we're dealing with a dog that's aggressive, it's always important to have at least 2 levels of management, especially at the beginning of training. That means a leash and a muzzle and a gait. We need 2 options on board because humans, by nature, we fail. We are not perfect. We are not set up to be perfect. And when we expect that of ourselves, we're going to set our dogs up for failure. So it's really important we always have 2 levels of management, especially at the beginning when we're first getting these aggressive dogs back under control, all right? So a muzzle plus something is always the go-to move.